The Legion of Soldiers, the strongest civilization for hire. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 101 3 Coincidences. Follow the order of Queen Kesha, and enforce the law of justice. Above the main star of a player civilization, an angel holding a flaming sword looked down at the planet. This was the second time that Zui had come to this remote chaotic star zone. And now, the war, killing, and destruction here are more than 10 times more serious than before. The civilization she was about to punish was a civilization that had already slaughtered 6 weak player civilizations. The civilization below, your behavior has seriously violated the justice order of Queen Kesha. As a punishment, I will use a flaming strike on the army of your civilization. In fact, the space defense fleet of this civilization has been completely defeated by her. What is going on? Kimura Takayama looked at the angel above in shock. As a player ranked in the top 30,000 among all players today, he has always believed that he will definitely become the strongest force in the universe in the future. He constantly launched wars and constantly robbed resource stars. And he can do all this because he has an extremely powerful army. But now, all the troops he deployed outside the main star have been destroyed by this female angel. Now, she even wanted to destroy all his troops on the ground and his warships that were still in the hangar. And all this was because of the justice order created by Queen Kesha, who he had never heard of. And this order did not allow him to launch an aggressive war against other civilizations. Why? Looking at the long sword in the female angel's hand, the sword shot out a red light. The energy contained in it made him unable to raise any thoughts of resistance. He had no choice. He didn't know what else he could do. All the troops he sent to try to negotiate with the female angel were destroyed. That female angel didn't care about his opinion at all. The indifference in her eyes was just like how he treated the weak player civilizations that he destroyed. Boom. The laser swept down, along with his army and himself. A civilization completely became an NPC civilization, and a player went to death. Shock. Angels actually did such a thing. The truth about the large-scale destruction of players in the Kormos star field. A bloody massacre is taking place. Articles after articles were published on the player forum. In just 1 month, the Angel Lynx I launched a fiery attack on more than 1,000 player civilizations that launched wars of aggression. An important point is that the civilizations that can launch wars of aggression, win wars, and destroy defeated civilizations are all relatively powerful player civilizations. Among the civilizations destroyed by Lynx I, more than 700 of them are player civilizations that can be ranked in the top 1 million among players. All of them are powerful player forces selected from thousands of people. And in all forum articles, these words are generally mentioned: Angel, Queen Kesha, Justice and Order. The top civilization in the universe showed its face to the players for the second time. However, this NPC civilization, which should symbolize justice and order and provide shelter for weak civilizations, did not leave a good impression on the players. But this is the Angel civilization. The angels there are beautiful, proud, and advocate justice and freedom. They hate evil and are disgusted with all destructive wars. They fight for the justice in their hearts and for weak civilizations. But the most abundant thing in the universe is the civilization that constantly invades other weak civilizations for the sake of development. Therefore, in the universe, the weak civilization of the Angel civilization is also slandered by the powerful civilization. The Great Star region of Kormos. Has this angel arrived here? Chen looked at the article in the player forum and fell into deep thought. The Great Star region of Kormos is very close to the Great Star region where he is. Last time, the angel suddenly left. It was just unexpected that the other party came again this time. Something must be done. Chen sighed. The last time he learned that the angel civilization had come to this area, Chen had planned to let Nagusa divert the angel's attention so that the other party could avoid the detection of his own civilization. But now he has a better plan. After all, the chaotic star region where the players are located is not far from the current 9th level civilization, the Norris civilization. After all, The divine body gene that Chen exchanged is the product of the Norse civilization. After all, Nagusa said last time that it was because of the warnings from the Norse civilization and another 9th-level civilization that the angel gave up searching for her here. Things were so dramatic. With these three coincidences, a plan took shape in Chen's mind. Angel civilization, although I will choose to protect the solar system in the future, I'm sorry for my development now. Chapter 102 Plan Implementation. Damn it, she's just one person. How could she possibly kill us all? A red laser flashed across, and the space battleship exploded violently the moment it was cut open. It's really scary, but Chen, who was observing quietly from a distance, couldn't help but sigh. This kind of fiery class weapon is a representative product of civilizations that develop in the path of single-soldier mechanical development. The star drive technology is not exclusive to the Liang civilization, but the Liang civilization is the civilization that has gone the furthest on this path. A small star drive device is installed inside the weapon. It can store star energy, and it can also spend a certain amount of time to drive nearby stars to attack. Civilizations that develop in the path of technological weapons also have similar products. However, the target is large and easy to be targeted, and the energy storage time and drive time are long. Although the destructive power generated in the end is definitely stronger than this kind of fiery class weapon. However, due to the high flexibility of the divine body, it is often unable to cause effective damage to the divine body. Moreover, the control of this weapon by the people on the battleship is definitely not as good as the control of the divine body over its own weapon. This is the reason why Chen gave up the technological weapons with greater destructive power. As for the physical evolution, human genes don't have such high potential. If you choose this path, you will need to constantly add genes of various strange creatures to your body in the future. Becoming a monster that looks like nothing is just the most basic price of choosing this path. The high risk of gene collapse has made countless players who chose this path in the past dare not let their bodies continue to improve in the later stages. Boom. This time, Zui directly drove a star not far away, and the powerful high-temperature rays directly destroyed hundreds of space battleships. Enough. Stop it. Chen, wearing a metal mask, came to Zui. Who are you? Zui looked at the man in front of him vigilantly. Being able to walk alone in the universe without the help of any armor means that the other party is already a divine body. It doesn't matter who I am, but as an angel, don't you think what you are doing now is too much? Chen's tone was full of blame. These civilizations are plundering everywhere and violating the justice order of Queen Kesha. I just destroyed their weapons of war, because she didn't know the other party's background and she was far away from the organization. I explained to the other party. Your angel civilization has always been based on education first. Why did you directly use such violent measures this time? It's far away from the angel nebula, so if you want to maintain justice and order here, you must use different methods. Since you also know that this place is far away from the angel nebula, then you should understand that this is not a place where you angel nebula can have the final say. It's better not to be too extreme when doing things. Chen's tone suddenly became fierce. It seems that you are here to make trouble on purpose. Zui's tone also began to become unfriendly. Which civilization are you from? But you deliberately wear a mask to hide your identity, so you probably won't tell me where you are from. Zui was already ready for battle, but saying that, in fact, she had begun to pay attention to her surroundings. This was to prevent other enemies nearby. It was also to reserve a road so that she could evacuate safely if there was any danger. Being indecisive during a fight is not a good choice. Chen suddenly attacked, and the god-killing weapon in his hand pierced Zui's heart. Ding! Zui reacted very quickly and immediately blocked Chen's attack, but the other god-killing weapon should have been prepared by Chen. After Zui blocked one of the weapons, the other one stabbed directly into her abdomen. Hiss! The long sword cut Zui's waist. With rich combat experience, Zui dodged the attack, but was still inevitably scratched. In an instant, a feeling of weakness surged into Zui's body. Zui did not intend to fight to the end. After confirming that the weapons in the opponent's hands were all god-killing weapons and he was already injured, Zui immediately decided to retreat. The angel's angel wings can help the angel fly at high speed in the universe, but unfortunately, the divine body gene that Chen possesses is biased towards the space side. No matter how fast the movement speed is, it is not of much use in the face of space. So Chen can block Link's eye in front of the route she tries to evacuate every time. Unfortunately, you may not be able to escape. Chen stood in front of Zui calmly. Zui looked at the person in front of her, and clenched the flaming sword in her hand. For the glory of the angel, she wanted to kill the enemy in front of her. But before coming, her boss, Yan, the left-wing guard of Queen Kesha, had given her instructions. In fact, the two 9th-level civilizations were not particularly willing to cooperate with this plan. If the enemy appeared, they would come back immediately. For this reason, the other party even gave her a life-saving item. Zui took out a dark green disc. After entering a series of commands, Link's eye quickly disappeared from the original place. However, what she didn't know was that all of this was in Chen's plan. Chapter 103 The King's Persistence. Alone, wearing a special mask, carrying two god-killing weapons, in the vast angel palace, Holy Kesha listened to the situation reported by the people chasing her below. Queen, based on these characteristics alone, I'm afraid it's impossible to analyze which civilization this person comes from. The speaker was Holy Kesha's right-wing guard, Zyxin. Holy Kesha lowered her head and thought for a while. I seem to remember that the gods of the Norse civilization 10,000 years ago used two god-killing weapons as their standard combination. A female angel with silver hair slowly walked in from outside the hall. Hexy, why are you here? Although surprised, Holy Kesha still put a chair in the space to welcome Hexy's arrival. There is a prisoner who has been imprisoned by me for a long time. He happened to belong to the Jino civilization that fought a war with the Norse civilization 10,000 years ago. What's the problem? He said that his memory seemed to be wrong. In his cognition, the war 10,000 years ago should have ended with the Norse civilization taking the Ink Crescent ship by despicable means, and this person is a member of the Jino civilization who survived at that time. But in his memory, there was another situation, that is, there was a strange man who did not belong to the Norse civilization. This man was just a man who was no more than the level of a 5th-generation super soldier, but with a special set of equipment. He defeated him who had the god-killing martial arts and was a 5th-generation super soldier at the time. When the war was about to end, this man relied on his own strength to perish together with the Ink Crescent ship. His eye slowly told this matter. So what do you think? Holy Kesha frowned. In the universe, each civilization has its own different development path, but there is such a path that all civilizations want to try, but they cannot succeed. This development route is time. The use of space in the current universe will inevitably involve time, but if you really want to study time, it will be tens of thousands of times more difficult than studying space. I think we need to go to the Norse civilization to understand the actual situation. I don't know what kind of conflict has occurred between you and this civilization, but if the situation described by the prisoner is true, the biggest possibility is that someone has recently used some technology that is difficult for us to understand and returned to the past. Of course, the greater possibility is a parallel universe, and participated in the war between the Norse civilization and the Jino civilization there. I believe in your judgment, but there should be no civilization with such technology in the known universe. For Holy Kesha, she is more willing to believe that this is an accident. Whether there is any civilization that has mastered this technology, we should first explore the truth of this situation. His eye understands that Holy Kesha has experienced the betrayal of her own sister and a long period of life as a superior. She has embarked on a path of blind self-confidence. She insists on believing in her own justice order and the technological route that the angel civilization is taking now, just like the fallen freedom that the demon civilization yearns for, the tranquility that the scorching sun civilization pursues, and the void that the death god civilization pursues. Only when a king has what he pursues can this civilization have a goal of development. After all, for the lower level aspects, there are higher level civilizations above them to pursue. And for these civilizations that have already stepped onto the top of the universe, only with such a goal can they continue to move forward. This is also the reason why the Holy Keisha rejected the concept of the void and is now unwilling to accept the technology of other civilizations mastering time. In fact, it is just a superficial tough talk. Didn't you see the void engine that they quietly installed on the left and right wing guards? Okay, in this case, Yan, you go to the Norris civilization in person. I believe you should know exactly what to do. Yes, Queen Keisha. I wrote the name of the angel who came to the star field where the player is before. It should be Miss Azui, but it has been changed now. Chapter 104, Galbia Planet. How is it? You should be satisfied with this batch of goods. Mo Chen asked Du Cao. Not bad, at least much better than I thought. After confirming the quality of this batch of goods, Du Cao's tone to Mo Chen softened a lot. Hey, what are you talking about? A golden light flashed beside the two. Sun Wukong came to the side of the two. Wukong, how are you doing recently? I think your condition recently doesn't seem to be very good. Du Cao patted Sun Wukong's shoulder. Nothing, I just remembered an old friend. Sun Wukong shook his head. Speaking of which, you seem to have become much stronger recently. As a third-generation divine body, Sun Wukong can roughly feel the amount of dark energy in Mo Chen's body. It's just a little stronger. Mo Chen drank a sip of tea quite calmly. I won't stay here for long this time. I plan to continue my journey. Of course, I will come here every time I make a deal in the future. But, Lao Du, I think I need to give you a piece of advice. What? Du Cao frowned and looked at Mo Chen. There are actually many things hidden on this planet. If you have time, you'd better explore it yourself. Mo Chen said this not only because there are foreshadowings left by the Angel Civilization and the Death Civilization on this planet. It is also because in the previous life, it seems that the Dream World deliberately increased the attraction of Blue Star to other civilizations. There is something on Blue Star that has not been mentioned in the animation. X62, a very special substance. This substance is not strong, and it can't even store energy. But this substance has this characteristic, that is creation. Using this substance, you can simulate the creation of the known universe or even unknown things. In this process of creation, the only basic condition that needs to be paid attention to is the conservation of mass. In the explanation given by the Dream World in the previous life, this substance came from the void. It was born on Blue Star because of the use of the galaxy power on the male core, the creative power of the fusion of void and anti-void, plus the void engine on the body of the Howling who was killed by the power of the galaxy. These abilities intertwined together, bringing this substance from the void to the real universe. In addition, the Holy Keisha had fallen at that time, so all the 9-level civilizations in the universe came out in full force. Although the appearance of this thing was caused by the killing of the Howling by the power of the galaxy, but there must be something wrong with Blue Star itself, otherwise, how could the ability of the god of death Karl not be able to lead that kind of substance into the universe? Because of the mystery that Mo Chen has always given Du Cao, and the space technology he showed not long ago, Du Cao believed that Mo Chen belonged to the demon civilization, so this time Du Cao attached great importance to Mo Chen's words. I understand. Du Cao nodded very solemnly. In that case, then I will take my leave. Mo Chen stood up, nodded to the two people, and left Blue Star directly. But this time he was not going back to the Shura Civilization, but to the largest happy trading star in the universe, Galbia Star. Almost all the cross-universe level chambers of commerce in the entire universe will choose to be stationed there. Not only that, the civilizations that trade there are also mixed. There are pirate civilizations that stir up trouble in the universe. There are also civilizations that spread some evil ideas like the demon civilization. And of course there are civilizations that are just like the angel civilization. However, such a planet with such huge benefits, no level 9 civilization is willing to compete for it. So the strength of the civilization behind this planet can naturally be imagined. Mo Chen went here not only to trade, but also to meet more civilizations and more forces. Of course, There is something more important than these two, that is intelligence. This planet is not just about some resource transactions and weapons transactions, the intelligence of various civilizations in the universe, but a very important transaction content on this planet. It can even be said that there is no place in the entire universe where the intelligence is more complete than here. In his previous life, Chen naturally came here more than once. The coordinates of the planet are naturally memorized, so Chen directly entered the coordinates of this planet and teleported over. Chapter 105 Light Feather Chain. Hello, welcome to Galbia. As soon as he arrived at Galbia, a small flying robot flew to Chen's side. This is also the standard configuration for every customer on Galbia. This small robot is not only to provide the most meticulous service to each customer, but also to monitor these customers. In this process, Galbia can obtain a lot of intelligence and the destinations of various goods, and this acquired intelligence can be resold for the second time. However, due to the much lower timeliness, Galbia will only sell part of its intelligence 10 days after the customer completes the transaction. Therefore, those civilizations in the universe will acquiesce to Galbia to do such things. Hello, it is detected that you have not registered your identity information on this planet. Do you want to register immediately? If you don't register, you will not be able to conduct any transactions on Galbia. Register. Code name, Moling. Strength, first generation divine body. Civilization level, level 6. Do you want to register a personal account on Galbia? Although Galbia will sell intelligence, it will not be too much. The face and pupils are too easy for the divine body to change. And things like blood genes often involve the technology of this civilization. Although it is a bit fanciful to use this technology to crack this gene, it still involves the privacy of individuals and civilizations. Therefore, the account on Galbia uses the most basic method. Yes, account name, at least 6 digits, 1,008,610,086. Password, greater than 1,624. Second level password, section greater than and third level password. Hash include int main. Return 0. This is for viewing only. Account registration completed. Welcome, Mr. Moling. Your current account balance is 0. Exchange basic resources. Primary resource exchange ratio is 1:1, intermediate resource exchange ratio is 1:20, and advanced resource exchange ratio is 1:500. Exchange 500,000 units of primary resources and 30,000 units of intermediate resources. Chen released these resources through the heart of the Star Sea and handed them over to a resource recycling center not far away. 1.1 million Gale has been credited to the account. Take me to the nearby exchange. Trading direction, branch technology, below level 5, above level 3, any technology research direction. Any civilization subject direction, applicable object, Chen body. Search completed. Please go to the underground exchange at 41 degrees and 11,721.6 meters north and south. There are 4,072 types of level 5 branch technologies, 57,624 types of level 4 branch technologies, and 661,715 types of level 3 branch technologies for sale. This is the mainstream form of trading on the Galbia Star. There are exchanges of all sizes registered in the Galbia Star database, and all commodities in the exchange will also be recorded. Buyers only need to give their shopping direction, and the flying robot will give the appropriate exchange location based on big data analysis. Buyers only need to go shopping according to this location. The exchange recommended by the robot is located underground and is a large exchange. As soon as Chen entered, he arrived at a blank room. Hello, respected user. According to system analysis, your purchase direction is level 3 to level 5 branch technology. The following is the content list. This level 5 branch technology, light feather chain, can you show it to me? The buyer has been contacted for you. Then this blank room changed and turned into a huge silver conference room. At the same time, a green-skinned man was visualized under virtual reality technology. Hello, I'm an employee of this shop. You can call me Jack. Jack, can you introduce this light feather chain to me? No problem. This light feather chain is a combat auxiliary weapon. This weapon has a certain degree of attack power, but the main combat method is hidden in the weapon, which destroys the opponent's genes after piercing the enemy's body. If there is a god-killing weapon, the destructive effect can still be improved to a limited extent. This branch technology is specially created because the god-killing weapon is too expensive. The effect is definitely worse than the destructive power of the god-killing weapon on genes, but it is better to have this effect than nothing. Its cost is not high, and it still has a high purchase value overall. These are all in the product introduction. What I want is the specific effect value. Chen said, okay, but too detailed data cannot be given. After all, it involves product confidentiality. No problem. A document was sent to Chen. After analysis, he determined that this product is worth buying for the current Shura Civilization. However, before buying, there is an important step that cannot be missed. Chapter 106 Bargaining. But there are still some problems. Chen pointed to a place in the datasheet. Here, if your data is correct, your large amount of light energy dissipation problem may directly affect the final value of this technology. The divine body is very sensitive to energy changes, and this weapon will dissipate a large amount of light particles before entering the divine body to help it destroy the super gene and the divine body gene. This energy is enough to make the divine body realize the special nature of this weapon in an instant. The divine body is naturally unable to prevent the god-killing weapon, but for this kind of weapon, before it cracks the divine body gene, the divine body still has a way to prevent it. So, Chen looked at the salesperson. The biggest selling point of this weapon is limited, and its value is not as high as you give. Chen's words stunned the employee. He was just a 5th-generation super soldier and didn't know much about the divine body. He only knew what his boss wanted him to know about these branch technologies, and naturally knew nothing else. Please help me contact your boss. Chen said so. After all, seeing that there were no employees, he knew that it was meaningless to bargain with him. Okay. The employee immediately called his boss. Soon another man was projected into this space, but compared to the previous employee, the equipment on this man was much stronger. Hello. Chen nodded in reply. I already know your doubts about this product. Indeed, this is indeed one of the shortcomings of this product. The original price of this product is 2.5 million Gale. I can reduce the price to 2.2 million. I wonder if you are satisfied. The man was indeed very sincere. However, Chen did not intend to just look at this little bit. After all, for the current Shura Civilization, it is better to save as much as possible. If it is just this problem, I don't lack the money, but there are other very important problems with this product, you say. Hearing this, the man's brows also frowned. He felt that Chen was here to find fault. Light feather chain. This thing was made into an auxiliary weapon by you, but why not use it as a component of the main weapon? Yes, that's right. This thing may be more versatile if it is installed on the hand as an auxiliary weapon. However, it will greatly reduce the concealment of this thing, and as a weapon component, isn't it easier for it to enter the enemy's body? You put it on your hand now, and attach it to the weapon when you attack, which not only increases the possibility of being discovered, but also consumes extra energy. After all, it takes a lot of energy to crack the gene with your weapon, doesn't it? Not only that, this weapon has become a disposable prop because of your design problems. It is written in the introduction of this product that the reason for making this item is that the cost of killing the gods is too expensive. But the killing of the gods can be used all the time after it is made once, and your product is not only much less effective than the killing of the gods, but also a disposable prop. And it really needs to be put into the war. It may cost more to achieve the same effect as the killing of the gods. In this case, why do I still need this product? Why don't I just make the killing of the gods? Chen only mentioned 2 flaws of this product in a row, and the shop owner was unable to refute each one, because what Chen said was all true, and it would indeed affect the final price of this product. Since you have found so many problems and asked me to come, you must really want to buy it. In this case, just quote a price. The boss sighed and finally said so. 150,000. Chen said calmly. That's impossible. The boss shook his head. from 250,000 to 150,000. Even if this product has the 3 problems that Chen said, it is impossible to be suppressed so hard. Why is it impossible? I told you the 3 problems of this product, and you can let your civilization make modifications. I believe it will be good for your civilization in the end. Secondly, I remember that each product here can keep a customer feedback under it, regardless of whether the customer completes the transaction. In this case, what if I write all 3 problems there? Chen looked at the boss with a smile. The boss was silent. If Chen hadn't said anything, other customers might have bought it for 250,000 yuan, or even if they found a problem, they might have bought it for 220,000 yuan. But once Chen had published the information, the price of this product might only be around 180,000 yuan. Well, I'm unlucky to have run into you. 150,000 yuan is 150,000 yuan, but let me make it clear first, you can't write these 3 problems on the customer feedback. The boss finally gave in. Of course, in the end, Chen only spent 150,000 yuan to successfully buy the product. But is this product really only worth 180,000 yuan as the boss thought? Not really. In fact, the boss was led into a misunderstanding by Chen. This is just a 5th level branch technology, but Chen has been comparing it with the god-killing weapon. But to be fair, if this weapon is aimed at the 5th generation super soldier, then the damage it can cause will be very considerable. But there is no way. Who made the boss compare it with the god-killing weapon in the introduction in order to raise the price? It was he who personally gave Chen the opportunity to fall into Chen's logical trap. Chapter 107. Galbia Fighting Tournament. Afterwards, Chen did the same thing and bought 4 level 5 branch technology blueprints at a low price in the same way. However, it took him 5 days, because the basic resources he brought had been replaced before. So he used the knowledge in his memory to make some changes to the branch technology blueprints he bought before. Then he put them on the shelf for sale. For example, the branch technology blueprint of the light feather chain. Chen slightly modified it and gave it the name of Light Spirit Membrane. Unlike the previous branch technologies in Chen's memory that the Dream Realm did not recognize, now Chen modified a recognized branch technology blueprint. In this way, the product already exists. After the modification, the only change is that the modification leads to a different value change. The modified item itself is still recognized by the Dream Realm, so it can also be used for trading. In fact, the branch technologies that exist in Chen's memory are not recognized, not because the Dream Realm does not know that this is a technology. It is because if these branch technologies in Chen's memory are recognized, then a logical error will occur. Because in order to ensure the balance of civilization development between each player, the research progress of each player's civilization needs to be the same when props are not used. So when the Dream Realm created this game, it compiled a program to ensure that the research speed of each player's civilization for technology is consistent. Just like, when a civilization is a first-level civilization, its research speed for first-level branch technology is 1 success every 6 months. So in this process, the Dream Realm added a logic, that is, if branch technology is to appear, it must be studied. The branch technologies in Chen's memory are all real. But because the establishment of branch technologies must be studied first, the things in Chen's memory can only be used to accelerate the research of Shura Civilization on these technologies. At the same time, after analyzing this point, Chen was more certain that the Dream Realm was actually just an idea of a program. No matter how intelligent it is essentially different from a living organism. A living organism can proceed without logic, but a program must run according to logic. However, it is precisely because of this that Chen has the capital to buy those branch technology drawings and make more purchase plans for it later. 180,000 Gale credited to my account. I'd like to add one more thing here, so as to avoid it becoming a bug later. After these branch technology blueprints are sold, their prices will be reduced by 0.5% of the original price each time they are sold. After all, the more civilizations that master a branch technology, the lower its value. The shops on the planet Galbia are divided into long-term shops and short-term shops. As a new user, Chen enjoys 3 days of free short-term shop rental experience. So Chen also sold the branch technologies he modified through this platform. However, Galbia is indeed the largest trading platform in the universe. In just these few days, Chen has completed 12 orders. So this proves one thing: no matter whether you have money or not, as long as you have knowledge, you are a rich man. These 12 orders brought him a profit of 284,000 Gale, including the cost of buying the other 4 branch technologies. There is still a total of 213,000, and this money is enough for Chen to buy a relatively low-priced rare item. Chen did take a fancy to a rare item, the Black Star Ring. This is a product naturally formed in the universe. In fact, this is a magnet chain with a small black hole inside. Although it is a relatively low-priced rare item for a group of divine civilizations, it is enough to be used as a killer for the current Shura civilization. After all, non-divine civilizations do not have the technology to resist the attraction of black holes. Ladies and gentlemen, the 1349th Galbia fighting competition will start at 6 o'clock this afternoon, and there is only 1 hour left for ticket sales. Chen was walking on the road, and a burst of noise suddenly attracted his attention. Galbia fighting competition? It's really nostalgic. The Galbia fighting competition is officially held by Galbia Star. The participants can be anyone with a second generation or lower divine body. However, the participation is not in the name of one person, but in the name of a civilization. Each civilization can only send one person. The final reward of this competition is also for civilizations rather than individuals. In the previous life, this competition was sought after by countless players, but because it was only held every 3 years, players actually did not participate in a few sessions in total. After all, when a large number of players come into contact with this place and have reached the level of godly body, it has entered the late stage of the game, and it is very close to the final attack and defense of the solar system. In the previous life, the Chen civilization participated in 3 sessions. Chen participated once, and Xanfeng participated twice. The best result Chen has achieved is 1042nd, while Xanfeng stopped at the top 32. It might be a good idea to go and take a look. Chapter 108, Heavenly City. The Galbia fighting competition is actually a very valuable competition. After all, after a civilization enters the stage of divine body civilization, except for civilizations that develop scientific and technological weapons, other civilizations will basically focus on divine bodies when fighting in the universe. The Galbia fighting competition is a battle between divine bodies, and the result reflected in it is the difference in the level of divine bodies of various civilizations. However, generally speaking, the final winners are often those in the evolutionary body, because the divine body in this direction, although slightly weaker than the divine bodies in the other 2 development directions in terms of computing power, is even worse in terms of attack methods. However, it cannot withstand the opponent's physical strength. The physical strength of the divine body of the evolutionary body will be very terrible, and relying on the body to resist lasers is just a basic operation. It's just that its evolution needs to integrate various other genes, and the probability of death due to gene chain damage is too high. At the same time, the cost is also very expensive. After all, everyone's DNA is different, and each cultivation of such a divine body requires re-research. Moreover, the research process must also be directly targeted at the human body. Once the experimental subject dies, the research must start again. The situation of this year's Galbia fighting competition was the same. Only one divine body of the technological weapon development path entered the top 16. There were 5 single soldier mechanical types, and the remaining 10 all belonged to the physical evolution type of civilization. Bet on the Tulong civilization. Bet on the Tulong civilization. Not far from Chen, the gambling place set up by the official of Galbia Star was extremely lively. Through their conversation, Chen could guess that the contestant of the Tulong civilization was basically 100% able to kill his opponent. Not only that, the opponent was also the favorite to win this competition. This Tulong civilization was a typical physical evolution type of civilization. The contestant was 120 meters tall and covered with scales. Not only that, He also had a 150-meter-long tail. The whole back was covered with terrifying bone spurs. Due to the influence of genes, the secretory glands inside the mouth were very developed. There was constant saliva dripping from his mouth to the ground, and the high-strength alloy would be corroded into a small hole in an instant. And his opponent was the only contestant among all the contestants who was developing in the direction of technological weapons. However, Chen was not like others, who believed that the Tulong civilization would win in the end. After all, he had not watched the previous matches, and he felt that as a divine body with a technological weapon development path, the opponent could enter the top 16, so he must have his own ability. After all, in this kind of one-on-one competition, personal experience and combat talent are equally important. So in the end, Chen bet 50,000 on the players of the Tulong civilization. After all, they have come to watch the game, so they have to have some fun. But even if they come to play, they still spend money, so of course they should make money if they can. Others who can become divine bodies must not be brainless people. Following them, the chances are always better. Chairman, recently DEEC Company has emphasized our business on several planets. There is no way. The Shura business law stipulates that for each expansion of business on a planet by an individual enterprise, the cost required will increase by 10%. We have already controlled the furniture business on 12 planets, and DEEC Company only controls 3. Although their total assets are less than ours, they can invest much more on a planet than us. After all, if we want to invest, we may not be able to make ends meet. Li Yang, the chairman of Wonton Group, sighed. He was one of the first people to try out the new technology after the Shura civilization entered the Empire period. His company is now one of the largest self-employed companies. After all, the Shura civilization is constantly expanding and immigrating, and the demand for furniture is very large. Not only that, you see, this is the latest statistical data. After DEEC Company purchased a batch of discarded second-level space battleships, their delivery speed has exceeded ours. Now there are many comments saying that our delivery speed is too slow. That can't be helped. When the previous batch of space battleships were sold, our company's capital chain had problems and we simply didn't have the ability to purchase them. Li Yang rubbed his temples. Chairman, why don't we choose some other targets? The assistant suggested. What target? In fact, I don't have a plan in my head, but I have a hint of inspiration. Doesn't the latest Shura law say that our civilization is about to build Tancheng? Once it is built, it will become the most prosperous, richest, and most heavily guarded place in Shura civilization. So what do you mean? Tancheng will be our opportunity to truly become a leading company in the home furnishing industry. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 109, Taking a Day Off. I have to take a day off today because of homework and writing a literature review. Sorry. Chapter 110, Slaves. Boom. The laser cannon bombarded the contestant of the Tulong civilization. When the smoke cleared, there was no scar on the contestant's body. From the performance of the battle so far, this contestant is worthy of being the favorite to win this competition. The strength he has shown has long been higher than that of the second-generation divine body. Civilizations of physical evolution also have their own branch technologies. However, these branch technologies are more inclined to radiation mutation, and this contestant has undoubtedly been strengthened many times, and the scales on his body are no longer able to be destroyed by the 7th-level weapon attack. And judging from the destructive power he has shown, his overall combat power may have surpassed some third-generation divine bodies that have not been enhanced by branch technologies. After all, even the third-generation divine body will be damaged when facing the 7th-level weapon, and the destructive power may only be equal to that of the 7th-level weapon. What's going on? Suddenly a lot of noise sounded in the audience, because the Tulong civilization contestant who had just occupied an absolute advantage suddenly fell down. Immediately, several referees rushed to the competition stage. After a preliminary judgment, They raised their hands to indicate that the contestant had lost his combat ability. This scene made the audience completely excited. After all, there were too many people in the audience who bet on the player from Yulong Civilization to win. But now this player fell to the ground. This means that all these people's money has gone down the drain, of course, including Mo Chen, who just wanted to play. But unlike the noise of others at this time, Mo Chen fell into deep thought. He really didn't see clearly how this player was defeated before. After all, everything happened too suddenly, and Mo Chen could only think from two angles. One is that the laser cannon that seemed to have not hurt the opponent must have something special that he didn't notice. The other is that these two players played a fake match, but the probability is not high. After all, anyone with a discerning eye can see that this player from Yulong Civilization has an absolute advantage. It is unlikely that the opponent will do this if they want to play a fake match. So it's really what I thought before. This player can fight all the way to this point. There is indeed something special about him. Mo Chen's expression was a little strange. Fake match, fake match, fake match. The audience was in an uproar, but Mo Chen had already left quietly. He didn't know what means the player used to win the final victory, but what he knew was that since this player could kill the player from the Yulong Civilization in this way, it would not be difficult for him to kill the other opponents behind. After all, the strength of the player from the Yulong Civilization was comparable to the champion level of the fighting competition that the players participated in later. Because the player's research speed was faster, the branch technologies possessed by the player civilization in the later fighting competitions were often more than many NPC civilizations. Therefore, the overall strength must be much stronger than the previous fighting competitions. And it is not difficult to win the championship in the current competition if it can be comparable to the champion level of the fighting competition in the player era. So Mo Chen still felt that it was meaningless to continue to stay there and watch the game. He had other plans to do, and coming here was just a whim. Go to hell. A whip with high-voltage electricity hit a huge black creature. Roar! The black creature screamed. But in fact, if there was a third-generation divine body here, he would be able to see that the energy of the black beast had reached the level of a second-generation divine weapon. And the person who was teaching it a lesson was only a fifth-generation super soldier. This black creature was the product of their civilization's auction this time. The reason why this black creature allowed such a weak person to bully it was because there was a ring on its neck that had been embedded in its flesh and blood. If it dared to resist, the ring would explode instantly. Its explosive power was equivalent to that of an 8th-level weapon, and it could completely kill this black creature. In fact, this creature was not defeated by their civilization openly. Their civilization was only a 6th-level civilization, and it was naturally impossible to catch such a monster. It was just that this monster was seriously injured when they encountered it, but they were worried that they could not control it, so they brought it here to sell it. And the auction on the planet Galbia gave them such a control ring for free in order to earn auction commissions. The starting price of this black creature was set at 10 million Gale, and the estimated final transaction price was about 80 million. This was already a very big deal, and if it was successful, their civilization would advance a lot. Of course, this auction was an underground auction. After all, such a creature must belong to a civilization with physical evolution, and the slave trade was not allowed, at least on the surface. Chapter 111, The War of Admiral Candidates. General, we are in trouble now. Yun Yao rubbed his temples while looking at the approximate positions of the enemy and as shown on the star disk. As a general reserve, he was appointed as a major general as soon as he was sent to the army by Mo Chen. The 3 general candidates each led a force of 30,000 space battleships, but they were not under the command of the 2 generals Yu and Mo. Although the number of troops they led was far less than that of the 2 main legions, the number of warships of the Silver Wing Legion and the Light Wing Legion had reached 1.2 million. Mo Chen still gave them autonomy. The 3 legions were sent by the legion to a completely different direction from the 2 main legions. Their mission was also very simple, attacking 3-player civilizations. But now, after so much development, the number of players' warships has greatly increased. Basically, on average, each player civilization has about 100,000 space battleships. Of course, the quality is incomparable to the legions of the Shura Civilization, The Shura Civilization's army is now turning to level 3 space battleships. Now the proportion of level 3 space battleships has reached 15%, so there will be some level 2 space battleships being sold to individual enterprises. However, many player civilizations still have a large number of level 1 space battleships in their current legions. But even so, the situation of the three general candidates is not smooth at all, because the three civilizations selected by Chen for them are all relatively powerful. They generally have 150,000 space battleships, and the conversion rate of level 2 battleships has generally reached about 60%. So in addition to the quality advantage of having some level 3 space battleships, in terms of the number of level 2 space battleships, the three general candidates are leading less than their target. In other words, their army is weaker than their opponents in overall strength. But despite this, Chen still sent them because they still need more tempering and growth. They are indeed general candidates, but Chen does not necessarily need them all to become generals. Now Yun Yao's army is facing a situation of being surrounded on three sides. In the previous battle, he made certain decision-making errors, causing the team to excessively pursue a bait target, causing his troops to enter the encirclement. In fact, in addition to him, the other two general candidates also faced difficulties. Tian, the general candidate with very strong individual combat power, was now facing guerrilla warfare tactics with difficulty. Heiyu, the man who Chen thought had a better strategy than him, now mistook a false target for the enemy due to his lack of experience, resulting in his army being divided by the enemy. The dilemma faced by the three of them at this time has also been uploaded to Chen by Zhao. After all, we still need to grow up. This is what Chen sighed after hearing these reports. At this time, Chen, by accident, became an appraiser of an underground auction house. After all, it is an underground auction house. Although it is tacitly approved by the Galbia Star, many times the items sold in the area still need to avoid the monitoring of the Galbia Star. Therefore, underground auction houses like this will hire several appraisers. The reason why Chen became an appraiser here is because his business of improving branch technology is getting bigger and bigger. He used the same method to purchase level 6 branch technology at that time. As it turned out, the store he bargained for happened to be a store under the name of this underground auction house. So he became an appraiser of this underground auction house. He continued to do the business of improving branch technology, but now he helped the store under this underground auction house to improve it. After deducting the cost, he would get a commission every time the improved branch technology was sold. In addition to earning this commission, as an appraiser, he only needed to appraise 1 or 2 items every day, and he could earn 2 million Gale a month. Hey, have you heard? Tomorrow night, a slave with a body evolution equivalent to a second-generation divine body will be auctioned, and I heard that the slave also possesses several branch technologies. The starting price is 10 million Gales. That's nothing. Such a slave will be sold every 4 or 5 months. For those top civilizations, such a second-generation divine body is not enough. Oh, don't say it. Our civilization only sent me one, and I don't even have the money to buy a 5th-generation branch technology now. Galbia will recruit some personnel from those 5th-level civilizations to come to this planet as basic employees. Many 5th-level civilizations are only allocated one quota, so the person who is sent here bears the great hope of this civilization. It is hoped that he can work hard in exchange for some 5th-level branch technologies to help their civilization become stronger. A second-generation physical slave Chen looked at the only 12 million Gales in his account and fell into deep thought. Chapter 112 Light Particle Life. Master Yi. Chen used a pseudonym to say his name was Yizhu. You said before that you can identify and improve most of the 7th level and lower branch technology blueprints. I wonder if you can improve this score technology? A woman dressed very sexy and enchanting walked into Chen's office with a chip. This is a service staff member who will be assigned to each appraiser according to the appraiser's race, appearance, and gender. It can provide a variety of services for the appraiser, such as providing basic information about the items, notifying the items exhibited at the auction, and providing a variety of items that are being sold at low prices. Of course, Those services that everyone knows are also included. Let me see it. Chen took the chip from the woman, but he didn't care about the woman's deliberately sexy clothes. Light particle organisms. Yes, this is the product of a very special civilization, but the location of that civilization is a little special. It appeared in a dimensional rift, but later this civilization was imprisoned by the Death God civilization. Is that so? Chen searched in his memory, but unfortunately, he had never seen this kind of life in the army related to the Death God civilization in his previous life. Is there anything special about that civilization? The organisms of this civilization are all giants in the form of huge light, but it is said that they are actually a kind of Shin-body creatures, and their size is the same as ours. Only when they are fighting, they will become such giants. If they are controlled, how did you get this branch technology? At that time, it was not only the Death God civilization that first explored this civilization, but there were also many other powerful civilizations. Some of them obtained this research data from them. Chen looked carefully at the contents of the chip. This civilization was originally just an ordinary Shin-body technology weapon civilization, but later they created something called a plasma energy tower. They originally just wanted to use it as an artificial sun, but this thing brought extremely strong light radiation. This light radiation turned them into light particle life forms, which can be transformed between the light giant and the ordinary Shin body. This is not a branch technology. If you want to become a light particle life form, you must first have such a plasma energy tower. Secondly, the body genes must be the same as the organisms of this civilization. Otherwise, there is a 99.9% probability that the radiation changes will not become a light particle life form. Chen said, so the higher-ups want you to see if you can create a light particle life form based on the above content. After hearing this, Chen lowered his head. It was not because he had no way, but because he was thinking. He alone would definitely not be able to solve this problem, but under the influence of the program in the dream world, if he could bring this information back to the Shura civilization, it might not be impossible to create a real light particle life form. What he was thinking about now was whether he needed to find a way to keep this information in his own hands. If he answered that there was no way now, the information would soon be handed over to the next person. But if he answered that there was, then he would definitely be strictly supervised in the future. Because it was different from what he had obtained before, the value of this thing was too great. Once it was studied, it would be targeted by countless civilizations. What he saw now was just a general description, and the following technologies, similar to the plasma energy tower, were still kept at the underground auction. Chen took another careful look at the chip in his hand, but suddenly he saw a very special content. This life form can survive and become stronger by absorbing light energy. So what is the limit of this strengthening? Is it unlimited or limited? If there is a limit, how much is the limit? Is this limit scalable or not? Chen couldn't help but start thinking about these questions in his mind. After all, once the life forms of this civilization reach adulthood, they have a first-generation divine body. After reaching adulthood, their strength can reach the level of a second-generation divine body. If it can be strengthened, then the terrifying degree of this technology is really unimaginable. Did a very powerful existence appear when attacking this civilization? I don't know about this, but it is said that there seemed to be a battle between 3 generations of divine bodies at that time. 3rd generation of divine body? Although it was just a rumor, Chen had already made his own decision. I am certain, I can try. Chapter 113 Bidding Success. You mean, that guy took the document? Yes, he agreed after thinking about it for a long time, said the hot woman who was in Chen's office before. That guy is very mysterious. He only has the strength of a first-generation divine body, but his knowledge is terrifyingly high, not lower than those of the 3rd-generation divine bodies. The superiors attach great importance to him, and speculate that he may come from a 9th-level civilization. In short, keep an eye on him, whether it is because of his mystery or because he took on this task. Yes, boss. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Decal auction. Today we have prepared a total of 41 auction items. In addition to the top-level ore that has been announced earlier, the black cold crystal and the slave equivalent to the 2nd-generation divine body, There are 3 mysterious finale items, so now I won't say much. The auction officially begins. Please welcome the auctioneer of this venue, Mr. LeFou. Black Cold Crystal, 2nd generation divine body slave of the recovery type, the star map of the ruins of Baitru, 8th level civilization, Castile armor, 7th level branch technology blueprint, silver star, special item. After being irradiated by unknown rays in the universe, a planet is shrunk to the size of a ping-pong ball. It can release that kind of ray towards a designated target to shrink and reduce the weight of the target. As an internal member, Chen has the information of all the goods in this auction. Other things don't really matter, although they are also needed by the current Shura Civilization. The heart value is definitely the highest for the slave of the 2nd generation divine body. After Chen took over the research project on the light particle life form, he proposed a condition to the auction house, that is, he would unconditionally obtain one of the items in this auction. Of course, since the news has been released, he still needs to participate in the bidding process. It's just that after the bid is successful, he doesn't need to spend a penny, it's free. After a long period of calculation, after screening the 44 items over and over again, he finally chose the 2nd generation divine body. Perhaps some people would think that since this black life form is one of the finale items, its value must be higher than other things. But in fact, compared with the value of the item, the degree of fit with one's own civilization is more important. If there is a very compatible branch technology blueprint, even if it is only level 6, Chen will give up the black life form. 10 million gales, 20 million, 24 million gales, 30 million gales, 33 million. Okay, is there anyone who wants to bid? Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at the blueprint of this branch technology. This is a scoring technology that is common to all types of civilizations, and there are no specific requirements for use. It is not just any basic technology for energy utilization and can be used directly, and the overall power is huge enough. The female auctioneer, who was dressed very maturely and sexy, tried every way on the stage to continue to raise the prices of these items. Okay it looks like no one will choose to raise the price. Then 33 million once, 33 million twice, 33 million 3 times. Congratulations to this gentleman on his successful purchase. Then next, are the last 5 items. First of all, the first item is one of our mysterious items, the star map of the Baitru ruins. Let me introduce it first. The Baitru civilization was an 8th level civilization that was destroyed 8,000 years ago. This civilization was only a step away from a 9th level civilization. After its destruction, a large number of its branch drawings and technologies also disappeared completely, but we finally found this drawing. 15,462 words and 61 minutes and 46 seconds of the auction process are omitted here. Now is the last item of this auction, a physical evolution slave with the strength of a 2nd generation divine body. This slave has extremely strong attack and recovery capabilities. Although this guy's defense is not strong, there is a stable branch technology in his body. When his body feels pain, his attack power will increase to a certain extent. The black life form was slowly lifted onto the stage. It was about 4 meters tall, with wings on its back. It can fight in the universe. Then the auction begins now. The starting price is 100 million gale, 140 million, 160 million, 190 million, 250 million, 500 million. As soon as this voice came out, there was silence in the field. This price has already approached the ultimate value of this life form. The speaker was a tall figure, a body evolution life form. 500 million. Is there a higher price? 600 million. Chen said. 630 million. Sorry, sir, this price is already higher than his value. The identity of this life form is somewhat special, and our civilization does need him, the tall figure said, but before he finished speaking, he was stopped by the auction staff. 660 million. Chen completely ignored the other party. 670 million, the tall figure said with some struggle. 700 million. He finally gave up raising the price, 700 million. Congratulations to this gentleman for the successful bid. Chapter 114. Gainu, looking at the black animal life in front of him, who was motionless and silent, but had an extremely fierce look in his eyes. Chen was a little embarrassed, because the current situation was a little special. He needed to study the branch technology of the light particle life form, and therefore was under the close supervision of the auction house. He couldn't send this black animal life to the Shura Civilization, because if he didn't accompany himself, doing so would likely expose the location of his own civilization and bring disaster to his own civilization. But if he let this black life stay here to accompany him, when he studied the branch technology of the light particle life form in the future and wanted to escape from the auction house, it would be even more impossible to take it away. After all, Chen himself could leave through the space device in the God Diamond Mall, but he had no way to take this black life form away. But if he didn't take it away, then there would be no point in him bidding for this thing. Recently, he was indeed a little confused because of his research on the light particle life form, and he didn't even consider the first level when auctioning. What's your name? As a god, you can't fail to understand Chen language. Chen stared at the big man in front of him who didn't say a word, and sighed in his heart. He had learned from the auction house staff how this guy was captured, and combined with what the person who bid against him said during the auction, Chen had already made a rough guess about the situation that the black life form in front of him was facing. Your civilization is now fighting, and it may be the suppressed party. If you capture it, it must have been defeated in a war, and the energy was exhausted and it fell into a coma. And your status in your civilization is probably quite high. You are either the heir to the throne, or one of the top generals, or even the king of your civilization. I think what I said is correct, right? The black life form still did not answer Chen, but he clearly felt that the body of the black life form had a very slight tremor when he said these words. I don't want to say anything extra. I bought you, so I must want you to work for me. But you can rest assured that I won't treat you as a slave. If you want, I can even remove your slave status and take off the collar on your neck. Of course, when I take this step, I must have confirmed that you will never pose a threat to me and my civilization. As for me, I don't want to end up photographing a slave who can only be beaten. I can let you go back now to participate in the war of your civilization, but this is limited to half a year. After half a year, if you don't come back, I will force you to issue an order through this slave collar, asking you to kill all the life forms around you, whether they are from your hostile civilization or your own civilization. At the same time, if your life is in danger during these 6 months, I will also force you to withdraw from the battle to protect your life. After all, you are now my personal property. Think about it carefully. After saying these words, Chen turned and left. In fact, the reason why Chen did this was not only to gain the loyalty of this black life form, but also to give a reasonable reason to let this black life form leave the Jelbia star, and not to involve the Shura Civilization, and not to let them think that he had some other plans. After all, Chen also knew that their current conversation must have been eavesdropped by the auction house. However, before Chen walked far, a voice came from behind him. My name is Gainu. Hearing this, Chen was still quite surprised. After all, he himself did not expect that the other party would agree to his conditions after he just finished speaking. But now it seems that the war situation of their civilization may have indeed reached a very tense point. I am the vanguard general of the guard army of our civilization, and one of the most powerful people in our civilization. Do the words you just said really count? Gainu stood up, and his 4-meter-tall body still brought a strong sense of oppression. Of course, as long as you agree, you can leave now, and I will explain to the auction house for you. After a period of silence, Gainu slowly knelt down. Thank you. Don't thank me, thank your civilization. It's them who made you strong enough for me to do this. Chen patted Gainu's shoulder, and all this was indeed under the surveillance of the auction house. I didn't expect this guy to have such a knack. Looking at the images from the monitor, the man drank the milky white liquid in the cup elegantly. Chapter 115 Angel Yen's Mission. The Plasma Energy Tower is nothing more than an artificial sun made using plasma technology. Although plasma technology is not one of the mainstream development directions of civilization technology, some civilizations are still good at this technology. Moreover, this artificial sun is only a 7th level branch technology, so there is no problem in making it. In the past, it is known that 3 artificial suns were made. But although they were all made perfectly according to the branch technology drawings, the things that were finally produced could not produce strong and very special light energy radiation as described in the light particle life document. That is to say, either there is something in this branch technology drawing that was overlooked by the people who made it in the past, or the people who made this drawing did not write down everything, or the location of this civilization was special, and this artificial sun just met some special conditions, which led to the birth of such light radiation. At the same time, it happened that a part of the gene sequence of the life form of this civilization met the conditions for evolving into a light particle life form. This is how the light particle life form was born. Millions of pages of documents and data, even Chen needed several days to process and integrate. After all, there are not only the data collected from the light particle life form civilization that was plundered at the beginning, but also the research data written by a series of people who studied it later. Chen carefully read the branch technology drawings integrated from the light particle life form civilization from beginning to end. From the overall structure, there shouldn't be any big problems. If it is just a normal artificial sun, under the premise of using plasma technology, this plan should have no problem. Chen also had a certain understanding of plasma energy technology in his previous life. After all, the Moling civilization in his previous life also obtained the 6th level drawings of plasma energy technology during its development. The most important point in the whole plan is to produce that special light radiation, but even if light radiation is produced, it is impossible to determine whether this light radiation is the light radiation that caused all the people in the civilization to become light particle life forms. If you can find the light particle life form, or go to the place where the civilization of that light particle life form is located for research, then maybe you can find the secret of that light radiation. Otherwise, you must go through countless experiments and countless improvements to the plan, and you may not even be able to verify whether you have created that light radiation in the end. If Chen can bring this branch technology of light particle life forms back to Shura Civilization, and wait until Shura Civilization becomes a level 7 civilization, there is a high probability that it can be studied through the system restrictions of the dream world. But at least now, it is basically impossible for him to study light particle life forms and the principle of that light radiation without the help of the first 2 hard conditions. We can stay here for a while. The business is developing well for the time being. We can get more benefits if we stay here for a while. Gainu is still under the close surveillance of the auction house. We will wait for another year and a half. After a year and a half, we will use the space device to leave here immediately. Chen was silently calculating his future plans. Those light particle life forms and their civilization are now controlled by the Death God civilization. No matter how strong the power behind the auction house is, and no matter how great the benefits of the light particle life form branch technology are, the auction house cannot provide him with the research conditions he needs. In other words, it is meaningless to stay here for this branch technology. What Chen has to do now is to play the ranking game every day and visit the Alliance universe. However, just as Chen was living a salted fish life on the Gelbia star, on the main star of the 9th level civilization, the Norris civilization, an envoy from the Angel civilization, which is also a 9th level civilization, was visiting. Yan, the left-wing guard of the Holy Kesha, came to the Norris civilization with the instructions of the Holy Kesha to investigate whether there were any changes in the past history of the civilization. At the same time, she is also tasked with investigating the murderer who attacked Angel Chase. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 116 Dialogue. Angel, I remember that we have promised your civilization to let your people go to those remote galaxies to spread justice and order. A person covered with light blue metal all over his body looked at Angel Yen and said, but our people were attacked there, and the fighting style of the people who attacked her was exactly the same as the fighting style of those gods in your civilization more than 10,000 years ago. This is really an interesting thing. Since our civilization has promised you, we will not regret it. After all, even if we refuse, you don't seem to be able to do anything to us. Although the strength of your angel civilization is higher than ours, you still have a demon civilization that is always your opponent. After hearing this, Angel Yen frowned. Under the justice and order, every angel of the angel civilization has great respect for Holy Kesha, but the king of this civilization has no respect at all. Although there are many dissatisfactions in his heart, Angel Yen also understands that what the other party said is indeed true. Although the angel civilization is indeed the most powerful civilization among all the 9-level civilizations in the known universe, if it really conflicts with 2 9-level civilizations at the same time, then even the angel civilization cannot face it easily. No matter what, our people were indeed attacked in a remote star system not far from you. I need your help in the investigation. Angel Yen expressed her attitude as the representative of the angel civilization. Okay, there is another thing. What is it? I want to know if any of the veterans of your civilization who participated in the war 10,000 years ago have found that their memories seem to have changed to a certain extent. Memory changes? At this moment, the king of the Norris civilization was also stunned. What do you mean? Some civilizations seem to have mastered certain time technologies. A former prisoner of the Gino civilization was detained in our civilization's prison. He told us that his memory of the Ink Crescent battle seems to have changed to a certain extent. For super soldiers and divine bodies, their memories are divided into 2 parts. One is physical memory, just like ordinary people, stored in the neurons in the brain, and the other is the data of the computer in the genes. The prisoner's changed physical memory is also very simulated, because the memory stored in the brain neurons has the nature of forgetting things that happened 10,000 years ago. Even the divine body can't remember very clearly. Is it physical memory? The king of the Norris civilization asked. Because data memory may be quietly carried out through some loopholes. If you want to change physical memory, you must completely break the opponent's data defense line and then hypnotize. This process is impossible not to be discovered by the angel civilization. It is indeed physical memory. The king of the Norris civilization fell into silence. There are only a few people in our civilization who have experienced that war and are still alive today. Note: Norris has experienced several tragic wars in the process of growing into a level 9 civilization. The situation of those who survived is also very complicated, so you may need to wait here for a while. The king of the Norris civilization is very aware of the horror of a civilization that masters time technology, so he is also very concerned about the situation. No problem. Thank you for your cooperation. Yan stood up, bowed slightly, and then left here under the leadership of a diplomat of the Norris civilization. The king of the Norris civilization watched Yan leave, and his expression gradually became solemn. An unknown divine body quietly came from the inner universe to a remote galaxy not far from our civilization, and imitated our past fighting methods to attack the warriors of the angel civilization. Which civilization does this divine body belong to? What is its purpose? Also, even if there's a civilization that really has mastered time technology, why did it find the Battle of the Ink Crescent ship? Moreover, the first to discover this was the angel civilization, and the warriors of the angel civilization were also attacked. Is there any connection between the two? The king of the Norris civilization fell into deep thought. Come on, wake up those elders who have entered the sleeping period. Don't sleep again after you wake up. I feel like there seems to be some conspiracy shrouding Norris. Of course, no one heard the last sentence. Chapter 117 Suicide. 1.3 million Gale has been credited to my account. Chen put away the various materials in his hands. In the past year and a half, he had indeed spent a lot of time on the research of the plasma energy tower, and he had indeed proposed some possibilities based on the research of his predecessors. But possibilities are just possibilities after all, without a certain degree of certainty that he can do better than those who have done before. The auction house will not give materials for Chen to conduct experiments. After all, although the technology of the plasma spark tower is not advanced, it has at least created a sun, and the cost of the experiment is still very high. Chen counted his finances. In the past year and a half, he has made a lot of money from the auction house, which adds up to 600 million Gale. This is just Gale. He now has 371 level 5 branch technology blueprints, 56 level 6 branch technology blueprints and 4 level 7 branch technology blueprints, with a total value of 2 billion Gale. Only a small part of these branch technology blueprints was obtained by him when he made early blueprint improvement transactions. The rest were transferred from the auction house by him in the name of research reference. These drawings are not his for the time being, but as long as he leaves through the space device now, these drawings will be regarded as his props by the dream world. It is actually not very reliable to store these drawings in the form of data in the computer. After all, it may be difficult for a high-level supercomputer to completely control a supercomputer of a lower level than itself. But if it is just to steal data, it will be much easier. Therefore, many civilizations use the most primitive reading chips to prevent the theft of their branch technology drawings. The data confidentiality of these chips themselves is often not high, so once they are robbed or stolen, the recipients often do not carry them, but read them directly, so all the tracking traps are hidden in the data rather than the chip itself. In other words, as long as the user illegally reads this data, the tracking program will be downloaded into the body immediately. But if you only hold the chip, you will not be tracked. Of course, there is a tracking program in Chen's body. After all, although he did not read it illegally, the auction house would definitely implant it in him without his knowledge. So, bang, Chen detonated a void bomb in his laboratory, and he himself was instantly annihilated in the explosion. At this moment, in a corner of the universe, a life form with a body of black and a height of 2 meters looked at the sky in confusion. That's right, it was the slave that Chen bought a year and a half ago, Gainu. A year and a half ago, he returned to his planet. In fact, he deceived Chen. Of course, if you have to say it, it is not considered deception, but concealment. He is the general of his civilization, that's right, but at the same time he is also the prince of his civilization. Although their civilization is a level 7 civilization, there are only 3 second-generation divine bodies in total. So after he was captured, their civilization was retreating on the battlefield. When he was auctioned, their civilization was fighting the last defense battle. As a level 7 civilization, although they were defeated on the front battlefield, if they had to rely on their main planet to defend desperately, their opponent, the civilization that had just entered the level 8 civilization, would also find it difficult to capture it successfully. But that civilization chose to start a war on multiple fronts. After failing to conquer the enemy for a long time, they were also under pressure on other fronts. That's why that civilization was eager to buy Gainu from the auction to put pressure on Gainu's civilization, which could both dampen morale and force the enemy to surrender. Fortunately, it was Chen who bought him and let him go. After Gainu returned to his own civilization, the morale of his civilization was greatly boosted, and he dragged the enemy civilization for more than a year. Eventually, the enemy civilization collapsed on the battlefield. So in the past 2 months, Gainu did not continue his war life, but devoted himself to helping his civilization improve its post-war recovery work. But just now, he suddenly felt that the induction between him and Chen seemed to be broken for a moment. What's going on? The technology of the slave collar was actually provided by the 9th level civilization behind the Galbia star, but its original name was the God Control Collar, which was a veritable 9th level branch technology. To a certain extent, even the 4th generation divine body can be controlled. Of course, the control effect is not that exaggerated. It is precisely because it is a 9th level branch technology product that the connection between the master and the slave will not be broken in most areas of the universe. No matter how far apart they are. Ganyu looked at the direction of the Jelbia star in the starry sky, and a trace of worry appeared in his eyes. As a prince, he really couldn't accept the fact that he became a slave, but he also had to admit that it was because of Chen that his civilization did not perish. I hope I am overthinking it. Chapter 118 Accident. This feeling of death is really not good. Chen slumped on his throne, his chest heaving constantly. Just now, he killed himself with the void bomb, and then immediately resurrected through the resurrection engine to eliminate the tracking program in his body. At the same time, at the moment of resurrection, he immediately used the space device to send himself back to Shura Star. Even so, the feeling of being bombarded to ashes by the void bomb did not decrease at all. Although Chen had died once, and this time he knew very clearly that he could be resurrected, the despair and powerlessness of life facing death still made him a little unbearable. But finally I returned to Shura Star successfully. Chen took out the items he obtained on Jelbia Star from his storage space. In the past 2 years, Yu and his team have expanded the number of inhabited planets in the Shura Empire to 6,072, and have also recruited 572 player civilizations for the Shura Civilization. Chen later issued a special administrative star directive. If the Shura Civilization wants to expand into an empire, then the surrounding player civilizations will definitely have no way to survive. Those player civilizations will either fight against him and be destroyed, or surrender to him. Chen will retain the player's autonomy over his main planet, but his original affiliated planets and military forces will be incorporated into the Shura Civilization. Of course, these players can still form their own military forces, but this military force will be greatly restricted. Although this is a very unequal treaty, many players eventually compromised with the Shura Civilization in order to survive. However, this behavior also gave Yunfeng a headache, because it has caused the Shura Empire alliance to be rejected by the majority of players. The Shura Civilization now only has one blueprint left to advance to a level 5 civilization. The expansion plan can be temporarily stopped. The focus will be on hoarding resources in preparation for the upgrade of Shura's overall armaments after Shura Civilization masters those level 5 backbone technologies. Chen clicked on the power list. His power value of 27,623,421 was the highest among all. You should know that the power value of the second-ranked person was only 247,141, less than 1% of Shura Civilization. Speaking of which, the Dream Realm hasn't started a new activity for a long time. It is now the 12th year of the Dream Calendar. In Chen's memory, in addition to the activity of the Void Demon invasion in the first year of his previous life, the second activity was not started until the 20th year. It seems that I can take a good rest recently and wait for Ganyu's arrival. Chen stretched. Of course, this is just talk. Chen set his next task for himself a long time ago. In the coming year, he may need to keep running around in the areas where Shura Civilization has expanded, in order to stabilize the people's hearts and strengthen the people's dependence on the Shura Civilization. Just like the reason why Chen used a straightforward method to get rid of the underground army, the issue of people's hearts is very important, not to mention that as the defeated people, most of the people there still retain hatred. In fact, Chen should have done this a long time ago, but because he stayed on Blue Star and Jelbia Star for too long, many seeds of contradictions and conflicts were not eradicated in time. In the past few years, conflicts caused by this hatred have occurred more than once. If it continues to be left alone, Shura Civilization will soon be in chaos. Although Chen can forcibly kill all the people there, and then exchange blood diamonds for new population to fill in, Chen still doesn't want to do such a thing himself unless it is a last resort. However, after more than 10 years of smooth sailing and having a lot of Krypton gold value, Chen himself did not find a sense of superiority that made him forget one thing. That is accident. There are too many sudden accidents in this universe. For example, now, in a place occupied by the Shura Civilization, a space crack suddenly appeared. A giant beast with a length of more than 10,000 meters came out of the crack. Such a giant beast may be a giant divine body developed by a beast civilization in the direction of physical evolution. or it may be a mutant life form like the guardian beasts on the resource stars. But no matter what, it appeared. There is a super large energy supply station of the Shura Civilization on that planet, which is itself an important supply point used by the Shura Civilization in the expansion process. But now it has become food in the eyes of the giant beast. This giant beast, which may just wander aimlessly in the universe through space, was attracted by the supply station here and came here by tearing the space. At present, it is not just a temporary restaurant. In the eyes of the giant beast, this can be a very perfect settlement, because there is not only a lot of food here, but these food have no resistance in its eyes. In order to facilitate the maximum efficiency of war supplies and strategic materials, the Shura Civilization has established energy supply stations on a large number of planets. Chapter 119 Destruction of J-12, Abnormal Spatial Fluctuations Detected. The same words were heard in 3 places at the same time. Location: R5 area. It is speculated to be a space behemoth. Its strength is speculated to be at the level of a 3rd-generation god body, and its purpose is unknown. R5 area. I remember that the left-wing guard of the Angel Civilization seems to be not far away now, the general of the Norris Civilization said after searching for information about the R5 area in his mind. Generally speaking, the life of a space beast revolves around settling and migrating. There are only 2 situations that can allow a space beast to escape from its own special form of space movement through a space crack. One is hunting and the other is settling. Since this space beast appeared there, it means that there is food that attracts it, and the danger is not great. However, the energy required to attract a space beast of this level is very large. In theory, in such a barren place, there should be no civilization with that level of energy. Although the general kept talking about that level, in fact, that energy level is very normal in the Norris Civilization. The tone of surprise here is mainly because the star field where the players are located is too barren and weak. General, should we notify the Angel? No need. Although her own ability to detect space fluctuations is insignificant compared to our special detection equipment, after all, the distance between them is not far. If the Angel can't find it, then the Angel Civilization will not be able to dominate all the 9th-level civilizations for so many years. Abnormal space fluctuations. After hearing the information reported by the genetic computer inside her body, Angel Yen ended her exploration of the history of a player civilization. We should be about 47,542 light-years away. Nearly 50,000 light-years? Angel Yen was stunned. She knew her own strength. The spatial fluctuations that could be detected by her genetic calculator at a distance of nearly 50,000 light-years must have reached the 8th level. How could there be an 8th-level spatial fluctuation in such a place? Angel Yen's genetic computer had not been able to help her determine that the other party was a space monster. At the moment, she could only analyze it based on her recent experience. In such a barren place, theoretically no civilization above the 8th level would take a fancy to this place. But the 2 things that happened before, such as Azui being attacked here and the changes in the history of the Norris Civilization, should not have happened in theory. In other words, this spatial fluctuation may be the cause of all this. After making such an analysis, Angel Yen immediately headed towards the place where the spatial fluctuation came from. What? Mo Chen left the training room. He was just doing simulation training to improve his combat ability. After all, the present is different from the past. In the future, Shura Civilization will face many powerful enemies. However, before his subordinates grow up, he will have to face those enemies. There is a very strong spatial fluctuation in the Zunuo province. There is no way to determine the specific location for the time being, but judging from the energy reaction fed back from there, that kind of energy can easily destroy a planet. Zhao floated beside Mo Chen and reported the information she collected to him, but before she had time to report all the data she obtained, the latest information results had been transmitted to her host. The J-12 supply station lost contact, almost at the same time as the space fluctuation appeared. So the other party's target is the J-12 supply station? According to the analysis, the probability is as high as 74.2%. The space energy fluctuation that can easily destroy a planet, The target is most likely an energy supply station. Although Chen only lived for 1,000 years in his previous life, his understanding of the universe is not as good as those NPC civilizations with tens of thousands of years of interstellar history. But because players have a platform for sharing information, the player forum, so he actually knows a lot about this universe. Soon, Chen found a target that meets these 2 points in his memory. Space Behemoth. When saying these 4 words, Chen's voice trembled slightly. If I guess correctly, the opponent's strength is at least equivalent to the second-level divine body, and there are a lot of supply stations around there. The behemoth is likely to regard it as its new home. Nagusa. Chen immediately contacted Nagusa, who was playing on a planet inhabited by the Shura Civilization. What do you want from me? I'm in big trouble. J-12 supply station. At this time, this place has become a ruin. The space energy destroyed all the large defense devices and starships here, and also interfered with the information output device and space transmission device here. Moreover, the slant star to which the J-12 supply station belongs was also interfered, which resulted in the situation here being unknown to the outside world. The oxygen masks of this supply station were also destroyed, except for some combatants who were wearing protective clothing. Almost all the remaining logistics staff were oppressed to death because they were in a vacuum environment. But even so, the remaining combatants all looked at the sky in despair. The giant beast with a length of tens of thousands of meters had several thick blue light chains on its body. The other end of those light chains was located at the large energy storage devices of the J-12 supply stations. The giant beast was greedily devouring its feast. Chapter 120 Xingfeng. Space Behemoth. The strength is at least the second generation of godly body level. Do you want to drag me to die with you? Nagusa's eyes widened after she learned of Chen's guess. No matter what, I need you to go there with me to investigate the situation. Nagusa's reaction was also within Chen's expectations, but now, there was no way to be safe. He had to let Nagusa go with him. Of course, if there was really danger, he would definitely cover Nagusa's retreat. Anyway, he could still buy a resurrection engine from the God Transfer Mall. After all, if Nagusa really died here, the anger of the demon civilization would not be something that the current Shura civilization could bear. Even if the other party was suppressed by the angel civilization for many years. It's okay to go with you to investigate, but I promised that I would not help you fight together. Although I am now the protector of your civilization, I don't intend to risk my life here. No problem. The conversation ended simply like this. Of course, Nagusa also quickly returned to the royal city of Shura Civilization through the space transmission device. Where is your king? Nagusa came to the palace and found that Chen was no longer there, so she asked Zhao, who stayed in the palace. The situation is urgent. Our king has already set off. Good guy. He is not afraid that I will betray him, so he didn't go in the end. After hearing Zhao's answer, Nagusa laughed with an unknown meaning, and then immediately went to the vicinity of J-12 supply station through the space transmission device. In fact, from the time of this accident to now, the total time is less than 5 minutes. But for the survivors who are now on the J-12 supply station, these 5 minutes are so long. Their weapons hit the space beast like bubbles, and the space beast couldn't even feel it. But there was no way, because all the large weapons on this supply station had been destroyed, and those who could muster the courage to pick up their weapons and attack the beast were already 1 in 100 warriors. Most people have given up hope of survival, but in fact, they need to wait for far more than 5 minutes. After all, Angel Yen is more than 40,000 light-years away from here, and there is no space teleportation device of the Angel civilians here. But it will take at least 7 or 8 hours to get there by using the low-end space device on her body. Although Angel Yen is a third-generation divine body, her own physical attributes are not close to the space aspect after all. So although she can use space to move quickly in the universe, it is not as convenient as the divine body of the demon civilization. Although the overall genes of Chen and Nagusa are close to the space direction, they are only the first-generation divine bodies after all, and their overall movement speed is actually similar to that of Angel Yan. Chen is now using the space teleportation device of the Shura Civilization to teleport him to the nearest space device that has not been affected by the J-12 supply station. Even so, it will take another 6 minutes for Chen to arrive at his speed. And even if he arrives, he may not be able to rescue them. After all, although this giant beast will be indifferent to the remaining life forms on the supply station, that's because this giant beast believes that these people are no threat to it. But if Chen went there, he would have divine energy anyway. Although he was still very weak for the giant beast, the beast would not mind treating Chen as its dessert. But in fact, Chen had forgotten one thing, that is, his right-hand man in the previous life, Xingfeng, who was secretly observed by him and stayed in the army for training, was now staying on the slant star attached to the J-12 supply station because of a certain mission. Although Xingfeng did not have the tragic experience of his whole family being slaughtered by the Void Demons in the Void Demon War like in his previous life, he has now entered the army in advance and is a very smart, brave and reliable person, so he has now become a second lieutenant. Moreover, under Chen's secret operation, he has become a third-generation super soldier, and will lead a team of 40 super soldiers. When all the signals were interfered and destroyed by the space energy, and the J-12 supply station in the sky was in a different direction, he analyzed in an instant that something had happened to the J-12 supply station. It just so happened that his team was sitting on a small spaceship, so he immediately ordered the spaceship to go to the J-12 supply station. I don't know whether it is good or bad. Anyway, when the other spaceships and space battleships on the Sylvan Star lost all signals and their devices were damaged within 1 minute after the space monster descended, Xingfeng's spaceship was not affected too much. Although it was disturbed to a certain extent and some parts failed, it finally arrived at the J-12 supply station, and his ship became the first reinforcement to arrive at the J-12 supply station. Now, because the overall strength of the Shura civilization has left other player civilizations far behind, there will be a significant reduction in the content between players in the future, mainly focusing on system activities and a series of major developments in the later stage, and descriptions will be added. I will start to push the Shura civilization into the vision of other NPC civilizations in the universe, so as to connect the plot for the subsequent description of entering the entire universe environment. Chapter 121 Angel Yan's Discovery. Although they had expected the situation to be very bad, when they actually saw the giant beast, Xingfeng and his team members were all shocked. However, Xingfeng reacted quickly. Avoid this monster with the least movement and land on the J-12 supply station. Xingfeng calmly gave orders to the pilot of the battleship. The landing platform has been destroyed. Find a wider place for forced landing. It's difficult. The oxygen and gravity systems here are destroyed. It's already in a state of weightlessness. In a state of weightlessness, it is difficult for a spacecraft to dock. After all, the spacecraft will inevitably release force in the direction of its docking during the docking process. This force will make it difficult for the spacecraft to dock stably on its target. If it uses a faster speed and directly hits the landing target for adsorption, it may cause a lot of noise and attract the attention of the giant beast. But if the spacecraft is allowed to terminate its actions directly in an out-of-control environment, it can be guaranteed that no other debris will hit the spacecraft. But if the spaceship is kept in motion, even though the giant beast ignored them before, it is hard to guarantee that it will not do so again. Each plan has great risks, but only the first plan can guarantee that the chance of success is in their own hands. Make an emergency landing. I believe in your ability. Of course, the spaceship itself has an intelligent control system, but as mentioned before, although their ship can still run, it is still affected to a certain extent. The artificial intelligence of this ship is one of the aspects affected. The driver took a deep breath. It would be a lie to say that he was not nervous, and it would also be a lie to say that he was not afraid. But since the commander's order has been issued, the mission objectives have been confirmed, and they have also been recognized by their team. Then, as the driver of this ship, for the sake of his brothers and the soldiers on the J-12 supply station, he must force himself to calm down. He has completed similar training many times before, and he will definitely succeed this time. The spaceship slowly approached a larger piece of wreckage of the supply station in a damaged state. It was originally a work area, so there was a large flat area. During this period, several pieces of broken mechanical debris attacked them at high speed, but they were all avoided by the pilot with superb skills. Soon, they approached the landing buffer distance, and the hearts of the people on the whole ship were hanging. At the same time, other survivors in this area also discovered the ship. However, most of these people were combatants and had good qualities, so they did not make any noise to avoid attracting the attention of the giant beast. After all, the giant beast is still enjoying its food, and its attention is also attracted by those who have the courage to attack it. In fact, their worries are all unnecessary. For this giant beast, those who attack it are like ants in the eyes of normal people. It's just that this group of ants gathers in front of it, while the others hide at the edge of its vision. As for Xing Feng and his spaceship, to it is just a harmless little bug that flew around it for a while, not enough to divert its attention away from the group of interesting ants gathered in front of it. Even if this flying little bug will make noise, it is not as loud as these ants. However, Xing Feng and his companions did not know this. They only knew that their spaceship finally landed safely after much difficulty. "Nai, pilot, you stay on the ship. If anything else happens, I will allow you to drive the ship away immediately, regardless of how many people are on the ship at the time and whether we have returned." Others, 2 people in a group, go to each wreckage to search for survivors. Before getting off the ship, Xing Feng issued his combat orders. Here, Yan fell into a short state of absent-mindedness after seeing the information intercepted by her genetic computer. Just now, she arrived at a civilization, and she just checked the information of this civilization. By the way, it turned out that this civilization has been actively preparing for war, and it has also disturbed dozens of civilizations around. The reason is that in a place not far from them, there appeared a cosmic empire that is extremely powerful to them. The location of this cosmic empire is where the space fluctuation came from. The birth of an empire in such a place really makes people wonder what it was like back then. As the left-wing guard of the Holy Kesha, Yan knew about the powerful cosmic empire more than 10,000 years ago. The area that the cosmic empire owned back then is the area where the players are now. And combined with the information analyzed before, there is definitely something wrong with this civilization. Angel Yan felt as if he had discovered the truth. Chapter 122 The origin of the space monster finally arrived. Mo Chen's chest kept rising and falling. He had arrived here by frequently using his space ability, which also consumed a lot of energy. At the moment, he didn't dare to get too close to that place. First, because the enemy was too dangerous, and second, because he needed to replenish the energy in his body. A large amount of dark energy storage devices in the heart of the star sea were providing him with energy. At the same time, he also put on an exoskeleton mechanical armor on his body. The material of this whole set of armor was made of high-grade metal. In terms of hardness, it could completely withstand the 7th level weapons, but unfortunately, the energy utilization was not particularly good. Overall, it was just a first-generation divine body defense armor, but it was also bought by Mo Chen at a great price. This energy fluctuation, it seems that it is indeed a space beast at the level of a 3rd-generation divine body. After Mo Chen felt the energy fluctuations here at close range, he was sure that his previous guess was correct. This made the last bit of luck in Mo Chen's heart disappear. Not long after, Mo Chen had replenished his energy. In his estimation, Nagusa would arrive here in at most 3 minutes, but the current situation did not allow him to wait any longer. Mo Chen could only restrain his breath and fly towards the direction of the J-12 supply station. Roar! The space beast used its ability to drag a few more energy storage devices. There were a total of 20 such energy supply devices in this supply station, and it had just absorbed all the energy in 10 devices. For this space beast, the environment here was really what it loved. Its original home was located in the center of the universe, a planet that was about the size of 400 blue stars, and there were a lot of special energy stones on that planet. But there were 4 level 7 civilizations around this planet. If it was just one level 7 civilization, this space beast would not have to be afraid at all. But when 4 level 7 civilizations joined forces, this space beast could not resist. However, because the 4 level 7 civilizations were wary of each other, they let this space beast settle down on the planet, but they often sent people to its home to collect energy ores. Moreover, every time it collects energy, 3 to 4 second-generation divine bodies will go with it. This means that this space beast can only sit back and watch those civilizations collect energy ores in its home without restraint, but at least it can continue to call it home and live there peacefully. But later, an 8th level civilization discovered this place, and a war broke out. 2 of the 4 7th level civilizations defected to the 8th level civilization. The entire planet of the other 2 was destroyed in the war, and the other became a famous subordinate civilization of the 8th level civilization like the other 2 7th level civilizations. Then the 8th level civilization forcefully drove the space beast away. So the space beast began a long journey of wandering. Its wandering journey has lasted for more than 2,000 years, but the wandering is different from before. Those top-level places that store a lot of high-quality energy are occupied by top-level civilizations, and it dares not go there at all. Instead, it stays there for other energy of lower quality. Either those civilizations have higher-level civilizations to rely on, or some strange divine river bodies that claim to be for justice chase it and fight it, so it can only keep wandering towards the border of the known universe. Finally, it found this place. The energy stored here was not of high quality, but there were many energy sources scattered around, and basically each one could meet its energy needs for a year. However, being chased and beaten all the way for more than 2,000 years still taught it some lessons. This space beast had been observing the surroundings for a long time and confirmed that the civilization here had no connection with higher-level civilizations. In the past few years, the highest-level energy body that appeared was only a generation of divine bodies. If this space beast knew how to think, it should have ambushed and observed for a few more years, or even decades. But it was just a beast after all. There was an instinctive violent factor in its body that impacted its reason and made it unable to think like an intelligent life form. And the hunger was constantly stimulating it, so there was this scene. However, this space beast itself was not a ferocious beast that enjoyed slaughtering those weak life forms. What it wanted was actually a stable and comfortable living environment. That's why it didn't kill all the life on this supply station. Unfortunately, its predecessors really left a deep impression of cruelty on the intelligent life forms in the universe. In addition, it is not like those intelligent life forms, and it can communicate in Chen language. So basically every high-level civilization that encounters it will beat it to death. Otherwise, some powerful high-level civilizations can keep it as a pet, or even protect the guardian beast of their own civilization. And just when this giant beast was enjoying the second half of its delicious meal, it felt that a life form that had reached the level of a god was rushing towards it. Chen suffered a loss in experience after all. The players who encountered the space giant beast in the previous life were basically completely destroyed. So although the players knew that this giant beast had a strong destructive power and the living habits learned from the PC civilization, but they didn't know that this space giant beast was very sensitive to energy changes. Even if Chen deliberately concealed his energy fluctuations, he was still discovered. Why are those civilizations in the center of the universe basically protected by top civilizations? In fact, this is easy to understand. I have slightly changed the setting of the original anime here. In the anime, as long as a civilization reaches a certain stage of development, it will attract higher-level civilizations. Either it plunders and destroys these low-level civilizations like the Tati civilization, or it spreads its own ideas like the Demon civilization and the Liang civilization, allowing this civilization to embark on its own development path and become a subsidiary civilization of its own civilization. This book basically continues these 2 points, but adds certain settings, that is, the setting of the cosmic empire. At the same time, this high-level divine body civilization spreads its beliefs to low-level civilizations and takes them as subordinate civilizations. The development stage has been raised to become a divine body civilization. If this space behemoth wants to obtain enough energy for it to absorb for a long time, it often needs to go to the areas of those divine body civilizations, but I also said that there will be more powerful divine body civilizations behind these divine body civilizations. And civilizations below the divine body civilization are completely impossible to have enough energy for such a space behemoth to survive for a long time. But it just so happens that a civilization in the form of a cosmic empire such as the Shura Civilization has appeared in the universe. It perfectly matches the living environment that this space beast wants. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelist. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We are waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 123, Diverting the Trouble. Roar. The space beast roared. After years of waiting, it was sure that there was no life form above the first-generation divine body level, and there were only a few first-generation divine bodies. It only needed to drive away or kill the first-generation divine body, and no one would disturb its happy life. All the people nearby noticed the roar, and Chen also heard it. What is this? Chen didn't know why, but he felt that the roar was directed at him. This made Chen a little doubtful, not knowing whether he should continue to approach. At the J-12 supply station, the space beast suddenly tore open a space crack in front of everyone and drilled in. Xing Feng and others were stunned for a few seconds because they didn't know what happened. Then, they began to support the people at the supply station at the fastest speed. A group of super soldiers, after losing the restrictions, their efficiency increased several times. However, for the sake of safety, Xing Feng and his warship remained in place and did not start. On the other side, at Chen's place, Chen suddenly felt a strong sense of crisis. He didn't know where this creepy sense of danger came from, but he chose to trust his intuition. He activated the space jump in an instant and tried to escape from here. Boom. Fake. There is no sound in the vacuum. Chen was forcibly blasted out of the space jump process, and the space beast was staring at him at his original location. Chen's intuition was correct. If he hadn't entered the space jump in time, he might have entered the sub-biological space at this time, waiting to be resurrected by the resurrection engine. And the reason why he was blasted out of the space jump process was not because the space beast discovered it. It was simply because the space beast also used space jump, but the space energy it carried was too huge, causing this small space jump to be destroyed. Damn it. Seeing this scene, Chen naturally knew that he had been discovered by the other party, and the other party might have made up his mind to kill him. Chen sighed and took out a prop from the system backpack. Space Enhancer can enhance the user's space ability in all aspects, applicable to the first to third generation of divine bodies, from the Divine Diamond Mall, priced at 10,000 divine diamonds. Yes, this is what Chen exchanged for. Of course, he also prepared many other props, but most of them are disposable props. So if it is not absolutely necessary, he will try not to use them in advance. Well, it seems that all my original plans can be cancelled. Chen turned on the space enhancement device. He originally wanted to investigate with Nagusa, and then find a way. But now, I am afraid that I can only use these props to lead this space beast away first, and it would be best to divert the trouble to the east and send it to the Norris civilization. Swoosh. Fake. Vacuum is silent. Chen disappeared on the spot. Roar. After the space beast captured Chen's space migration trajectory, it immediately followed. 10 seconds later, Nagusa appeared here out of thin air. It looks like he's in trouble. As a member of the demon civilization that is proficient in the 9th level space technology, Nagusa is only a first-generation divine body, but she can still keenly detect the space fluctuations here. Relying on a special device in her body, she felt that there were 2 space fluctuations here. In fact, she only captured one of them before. That's because the space energy generated when the space beast left was too huge. But when she got here, she could feel the remnants of another space energy. There was no need to guess at all. She could be very sure that this space energy belonged to Chen. However, although she could get this information, she really had no way to analyze their space migration trajectory. It's a pity, This guy is actually a good person, except that he is a bit suicidal, referring to the development route of the universe empire that Chen took. Nagus aside, she didn't think that Chen could survive the pursuit of a space beast equivalent to the third-generation divine body level. On the other side, the direction where Chen fled to the Norris civilization happened to be the direction where Angel Yen came. Chapter 124 Angel Yen arrives. Chen resisted the aftermath of the space energy explosion. Although Chen's divine body gene's main ability is in the space aspect, facing a space beast like this, he can only passively take the beating. The space beast itself is a huge space energy carrier. When Chen is performing space migration, he is sometimes almost pushed by the energy released by the space beast. The direction of movement is also adjusted by Chen constantly to avoid deviation. He has been using space migration for 3 hours in a row. In these 3 hours, he was almost caught 6 times and attacked hundreds of times. If it weren't for the armor on his body and the items bought from the God Diamond Mall, his resurrection engine would have been hit long ago. This guy? Chen was puzzled, but he did not stop the space migration. He could feel that the speed of this space beast was slowing down. It seems that it has discovered my purpose. This space beast is not a fool. It has been exploring here for several years in the past, and it itself came from the core area of the universe. Naturally, he would know the Norris civilization, a wonder among the 9th-level civilizations, referring to the Norris civilization, which is a 9th-level civilization of the Shen body, but is not in the core area of the universe, but in the periphery of the known universe. It had been chasing Chen for 3 hours, so it could naturally find that the direction in which Chen was running was towards the Norris civilization. Although it had not even reached 1/30th of the distance, it was enough to touch the sensitive nerves of this big guy who was scared by the 8th-level and 9th-level civilizations. No, we can't let this guy go back. 2 minutes later, the space beast seemed to have completely given up the idea of chasing and began to move in the direction of the Shura Civilization. Chen had no choice but to pick up his 2 god-killing weapons and risk his own death to attract the space beast to chase him again. However, at this moment, a silver blade suddenly cut through the space. Roar! The space beast that was so arrogant just now let out a painful roar. A huge wound had been cut on its body, and its space movement was inevitably terminated. I thought I had caught a big fish, but it turned out to be just a space beast. But I think this little boy here will give me the answer I want in a while. Angel Yen looked back at Chen. Although Chen was only a first-generation divine body, and the space fluctuation was not caused by that mysterious civilization, the god-killing weapon in Chen's hand was exactly the same as the one that attacked Angel Chase before. As he spoke, Angel Yen took out a black cube. When the cube appeared, Chen immediately felt that he was locked, but when he wanted to use space transfer to jump away, he found that the space around him was also imprisoned. Stay where you are. After leaving this sentence, Yen cast his eyes on the space beast. The space beast equivalent to the third-generation divine body. Even if Yen is the left-wing guard of Holy Kesha, he must fight with all his strength. Roar! Unfortunately, this space beast seemed to have been scared in the past. Even if it was attacked by Angel Yen, and the energy level of Angel Yen was equal to it, it had no temper at all, and only wanted to leave here quickly. After all, half of the times it was beaten were by these guys with white wings. Why do I feel like I've seen you before? Angel Yen saw the scars on the space beast's body as it escaped. 1,000 years ago, Angel Yen, who was not a left-wing guard but a second-generation divine body, had participated in a battle to chase a space beast. At that time, because the battle started extremely hastily, there was only 1 third-generation divine body, 4 second-generation divine bodies, and 15 first-generation divine body level angels, so the space beast escaped. However, the third-generation angel at that time, an old angel who had followed Holy Kesha for 80,000 years, still left a very serious wound on the space beast that would take at least 3,000 years to heal completely. It was a cross wound with a diameter of 80 meters, which was almost exactly the same as the one on this space beast, and the position was also the same. Angel Yen was completely sure that this space beast was the one from 1,000 years ago. This made her think of the fragmented star field at that time. 1,000 years ago, This space beast fought a 6th-level civilization in order to obtain enough energy. In this battle, the energy released by this beast completely destroyed the small star field. Space beasts cannot absorb stellar energy, but they can recapture the energy they release in the war. Generally speaking, the only place where they need to consume energy is to maintain the operation of their huge bodies. This time, I will never let you escape again. Chapter 125, Fortuna Star Region. Cannot be analyzed. Cannot be analyzed. The same voice is constantly coming from Mo Chen's genetic computer. Holy Keshaw also knows that Angel Yan's mission this time is very important. So this time she specially gave Angel Yan many 8th level and 9th level branch technology products. Now it is one of the 8th level branch technology products that is imprisoning Mo Chen. Even if it is a 4th generation divine body, it will take a certain amount of time to crack it. Mo Chen, a mere 1st generation divine body, naturally has no way to do it. It seems that I can only think of a way to deceive this Angel Yan. Even if I fake my death now, this Angel Yan will probably go to the Shura Civilization to investigate. The Shura Civilization in the form of a cosmic empire cannot withstand investigation. But how can I deceive her? Mo Chen does not know that Angel Yan already knows that the Shura Civilization is a cosmic empire. On the other hand, after using the space cage, Angel Yan was very relieved to chase the space beast. The reason why Angel Yan did this was because Mo Chen was chased by the space beast before and there was no way to analyze that this 1st generation divine body did not have a high-level space branch technology. Roar! Another huge wound appeared on the body of the space beast. Over the past 1,000 years, the weapons of the Angel Civilization have also been greatly enhanced. The dark energy released by Angel Yan can now reach the level of the Angel's full strength attack 1,000 years ago. But the space beast is different. It has been living a life of being hunted. Every energy it obtains is just for survival. There is no condition for it to obtain more energy to enhance itself. The result is that the space beast began to flee in panic. Originally, this should be a good thing, because it would be easier for Angel Yan to kill the space beast. However, because the dream world facilitates wars between player civilizations, the density of civilizations in the star field where the players are located is very high. So now the panic of the space beast's escape has caused the space energy it carries to affect many player civilizations. In Keisha's justice order, for civilizations like player civilizations that constantly initiate wars, the Angel Civilization either spreads the justice order to make them change, mostly in the form of war, or ignores their life or death. If it was an old angel here, she might really not care about those player civilizations. But Angel Yan is only 6,000 years old, and she is only an extremely young generation of angels. She has not seen as many civilizations destroyed as those predecessors, and she still retains a trace of the purest compassion for life. So Angel Yan will also have compassion for these civilizations that are bad guys in the justice concept of Angel Civilization. Of course, she will unswervingly believe in the justice order of Holy Keshaw, but if possible, she will not sit idly by and watch the destruction of those civilizations. Therefore, Angel Yan began to hold back, and she began to deliberately guide this space behemoth to those areas without civilization. In this chaotic area, there is indeed an area without a single player civilization. It is called the Fortuna Star Region, which was the capital of the Universe Empire more than 10,000 years ago and the site of the decisive battle of the Black War. Countless gods died on the battlefield here, and more than one of the 4 generations of gods fell. Although more than 10,000 years have passed, various radiation and energy waves are still emanating here, and life forms below the god body cannot even survive here. This place has been cleared many times in the past, but considering the special nature of this place, in order to prevent someone from accidentally entering and obtaining any inheritance or learning any secrets, several level 9 civilizations joined forces to cut off the connection between this space and the surrounding space. Only the 4th generation of divine bodies and a few 3rd generation divine bodies with permission can enter. However, the space giant beast is an exception. As a space giant beast naturally bred in the universe, their ability in space is extremely powerful. Even if they only have the strength of the 3rd generation of divine bodies, they can still force their way into that star field. Speaking of which, this is my first time here. Angel Yen looked around curiously. She succeeded. She forced the space giant beast all the way here, and the space giant beast also sensed the specialness of this place. But the space giant beast thought that it could get rid of Angel Yen after entering. But the result was that the Shen body life with white wings also came in. And it looked much more relaxed than it. This place is really scary. Angel Yen blocked a dissipated energy impact, the intensity of which almost reached the attack level of the first generation of divine bodies. At the same time, here, Angel Yen can clearly feel a sense of oppression, and it is all around. The spirit, body, and engine are all weakened to a certain extent. It's hard to imagine how fierce the war here was in the past. Although she said so, she has not forgotten her purpose. The energy here is indeed extremely chaotic, but the intensity is high enough to allow Yen to quickly charge the energy of her weapon. It was not used before because it took too long to charge energy and could not interrupt the space migration of this space beast in time. In this game universe, the weapons of Angel Civilization are not as simple as in the original anime. Angel Yen's weapon is a sword of punishment that is higher than the sword of blazing, 8th level weapon. It can convert all known energy for its own use. It is a true 9th level weapon and the standard of the guard level angel. The huge energy reaction generated by Angel Yen's position naturally cannot avoid the perception of the space beast. This is a sense of terror that it has never felt since its birth. And the most important point is that it has a strong sense of being locked, as if it will be attacked no matter how it escapes. Accept the punishment. The dark energy slashed at the space beast. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.